Hi.
Hi. So next we have Shirley Hazlett. How's it going, Shirley?
It's going really well. Good to see you. I'm really glad. Oh, we need that light on. There was a glare.
Yes, we do.
But we do need it on. We're going to keep it on. I'm going to move away from the.
Everybody a little.
Okay.
Let me tell everybody a little bit about you. So usually a painter, Shirley Hazlett has actively exhibited acrylic, watercolor, and ink paintings on the West Coast. Staying at home since March 12th, she turned to her home sewing studio and has been perfecting the fine art of creating artful face masks from cotton and silk. Shirley's MFA is in painting from the San Francisco Art Institute, and her PhD is in community health. She combines both fields in creating functional masks that are also works of art. So Shirley works with prospective owners in designing their masks and makes cloth masks in two distinctive styles. Yay, and I am the happy owner of two of your masks, I must say.
You are. I'm really happy about that. Yeah. You know, it's been interesting. What you read is really accurate. And, you know, I was thinking, when I was at the San Francisco Art Institute, which is where I did my MFA, I always walked past. They had a special room up on a balcony that was all sewing machines. And I was always drawn to them because I had always sewn as a hobby. And I just kept thinking, no, I'm a painter. I need to paint. And with COVID, I haven't been going to my rented paint studio just for safety. And I always have to be making something. And I just thought, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I brought my watercolors home. I thought I could paint in watercolor. And then my sewing machine was staring at me from this little nook upstairs where it was set up. And I just thought, I wonder if I could start making face masks for myself and my family. And so that's how it started. I looked up patterns for face masks, and I looked at them, and, you know, basically there were two types. This kind that opens, this is one that I'm working on that's not done. And typically you saw, or I saw, that they would put an elastic piece here, an elastic piece here, and on it would go behind your ears. But with my health background, I started researching what is good in a face mask. And I read all sorts of things that I've incorporated into my mask, such as 3 layers of cotton. And I've been making masks of cotton. And then I also read that elastic shortens the life of a face mask, because with getting washed in a washing machine, the elastic wears out, and it also doesn't sanitize as well. And I just thought, well, I wonder if I could modify this design to have something that would tie on instead. So I did that. I just started making masks. I have some masks here. This is one mask that's completed. It starts like this, but that's only partway through. It's a silk front on this one, and the silk is lined. This is a completed one. And you can see that in the back, I was reading that the best masks have pockets that open and accept an additional filter. So I can slide the filter into the mask. I'm more careful when I'm using a mask, but the filter can slide in, and then the mask can totally get washed, and the filter can get washed. And then, so I initially was making masks just like this. You could fold them up and they were just fine. And then I started reading, putting my health hat on, that better to have a mask with a aluminum nose bridge. So then the next ones I made, next generation, and there's kind of an advantage to this. Next generation were this type of mask. It looks the same in the front. I call this my fall mask. It's fall colors. And I experimented with different sorts of fabric in the back. I also read, use a different fabric on the front and the back of your mask, because people need to know immediately which is the side that's been exposed to the environment and which is the side that's been exposed to your face. And so then I started developing masks with inserts, with aluminum inserts, so that the mask, when it's on, could be bent to fit your nose and fit your face. And I had to figure out how to do this over time. The first ones I designed were this type, where the insert pulls out, which is good because you can take it out when you wash your mask if you want to. And then I thought, I wonder if I could put the insert up here. And so that's what I've been doing lately. And so now the insert is hidden. It's up in the top part. It's the hardest part of making a mask, actually. It's up here and it's hidden. Oh, also I should say, all these masks are all for sale, and they are all listed, of course, on the Verge Studio Tour website, all listed there with prices. And you would email me if you're interested in a mask, or I can make you a custom mask too. So that's one style of mask that I make. And I know you have more questions there, but I'll just show you the other style.
You're on a roll. I'll just let you go.
Yeah, well, you know, I started making these for myself and my family. And then people started seeing me walking around with them, and they looked better than the normal mask, I think. And people, just strangers, would start asking me to make masks for them, and friends also contacted me. This is the other style. I call it the curved mask. I also figured out how to put a nose band in up here. Do you see how it's bent? And what's amazing is how different they look based on the fabric. This comes in 2 sizes. This is the size for a woman. And I always like to have kind of a hidden surprise in the back, in the filter area that's next to the face. And so this is, I call it a bandana mask. And then here is that same mask. Here's the back, that's the same, but it looks totally different in just sort of a very plain mask. And I think this one is a man size, because a number of men have asked me to make them very plain masks like this. And I have, but here it is in silk, and it looks totally different. The front is silk. It has 3 layers of cotton then, and a surprise back, and it ties on and has aluminum up here. But you have questions for me, so I'll stop talking.
Well, I mean, one of the questions is, how has your artistic practice changed since COVID? And it's really changed significantly, right?
I know. Behind me is a painting that I painted, and I always have been drawn to silk for decades. I have always loved silk. Buttonhole silk when I was a little girl, sewing Barbie doll clothes, and printmaking silk, which is what I use to paint on. I have exhibits around town that are paintings on silk. And of course, so it was really natural that I would get the idea of, I wonder if I can make masks that have silk faces. So that's how I went to silk fronted masks. And then the hardest ones are silk in the ties also. So my practice has changed because I was always a painter. But the thing that is the same is that I always worked very experimentally. I always would study an approach that people were using, or materials that people were using. And then I would think, okay, now I'm going to change that. And now I'm going to make it my own, do something with this that I haven't seen anyone do yet. And that's what I'm doing with my masks, which is very much what I do with my paintings too. My paintings are my own style, my own approach, and my masks are also.
And your approach changes. You know, you're very versatile, right? And as long as I've known you, which is I think 6 years or so, I've seen at least 4 or 5 different.
I do change. I do change. I originally studied painting very formally, and sometimes when I just want to relax, I will do the most realistic watercolor you can imagine of flowers or something in the environment that's natural. And I'll do that, but I'll think there's nothing about it that looks unique and looks like it is me. And so then I will turn from that and start exploring. I've done very large format paintings on ink, using ink on watercolor paper, paintings with ink that are maybe 4 by 10 feet. And then similarly, I've done watercolor paintings that are 3 by 5 feet. A number of those are in Kaiser hospitals around town. And so I'll basically get an idea and explore working in that way. I would say for about 2 years. For the first 6 months, you know, I really don't quite know what the outcome is going to be. And then something starts to gel, something starts to work, and I will then pursue it. Interestingly, to me, I was just realizing today, actually, when I was preparing for this presentation, when I did my first large format watercolor show, which was at Shimo Center for the Arts, and I had a number of 3-foot by 5-foot watercolors in that show. My theme for that show was textiles. And it was the idea of working with textiles expanded. And how would that look abstractly if I were stitching, if I were sewing? And that was the theme for that show. I'm trying to remember the title. I can't right now. It's on my website. I have a website. You can look me up, shirleyhazlett.com. But it was something like Textural Matters or something like that. And it was referencing my first art area when I was a little girl, maybe about 8 years of age, when I always used to love to sew. And I pursued that as my first area. And here I am doing it again all these many years later.
Oh, great. Well, we're just about out of time. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Shirley.
Thank you, Liv. Thank you for doing this. I have to thank Verge for just introducing us to all new ways of being artists by being virtual artists and reaching out to perhaps a broader community for what we're doing now.
Yeah, and you all have done such a great job of just jumping right into it. And I'm really excited. These interviews have gone so well over the last few days. And I've really been enjoying, I mean, it's funny, I know everybody that's been participating, but it's like I'm watching other content, like people that I don't know. I mean, it's really been interesting, you know, like I'm learning a lot about people, even down to like, you know, Patricia Alshut, I can never pronounce her name right. I'm going to mess it up. But, you know, she was talking about how, you know, she discovered art from after experiencing an accident. And I just was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like, this is something I didn't know. And this is someone who's been on the tour for a while. So, we're just learning a lot about each other this year, and I think it's really interesting. So thank you so much, Shirley.
Thank you so much for organizing all of this. Good seeing you all.
Yeah, same.
Bye-bye.